I was really happy with how the toms came out from the session yesterday. And honestly, if you record toms that are really in tune with an appropriate microphone, you're really not going to have to do very much corrective work to them. I guess I'll just talk briefly about the stripping of the silence that I did on them, and let you hear kind of how long those sustain on for. So you can see I kind of faded it out as it was going into the next section. I try to have it tail over into the section that comes right after, like the downbeat of the next part. So you'll hear a bit of crash coming in, but by that point it's fading. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's fading out, and you're not going to hear that in the context of the mix. We're also, by the way, listening to these toms completely raw. You can see there's no processing at all, apart from the master bus stuff that we've got. I'll find someone with a nice floor tom hit for us. And there you can hear an example of somewhere where I used a much longer tail, just because we're going into a section where the drums kind of stop, and I don't want to hear the toms kind of disappearing out really quickly, so I would have used a longer fade on there. But hopefully you can also hear that those toms are sounding really good already. If anything, I'd say maybe they're just a little bit bloated sounding. So first of all, I'll look at what I might do. Because all those toms are recorded with the same microphone, I generally find that they take a very similar treatment, and the positioning was consistent from one to the other as well. I'm going to go to this section here, which has a lot of toms. It's kind of the tribal section from the song. And hopefully you can see here what I'm doing to the toms. It's really not very much. I'm just bringing up a little bit of extra top end. I'm cutting a little bit around 700, I guess. I'll show you. That's a very ugly part of a tom sound for me. Like that kind of area, especially with coated toms, can be kind of out of control. I'll boost it so you can really hear what that's like. If it really brings out the worst.
What was that frequency again?
That's somewhere around, that's about 700.
Okay.
700 hertz. But what I would have done to find that would have been, in fact I'll do it now, I'll boost, and then I would have jogged the frequency around until I found somewhere which sounded ugliest, and then turn that into a cut. Everywhere sounds ugly around there, so it's kind of a case of finding the worst offender.
Then will you use like a slightly broader cue there?
Maybe,
or?
yeah. I just kind of do it by ear. This here controls the cue. I didn't go super wide on it. If I can, I like to try and leave some of the character of the drum in there. I don't want to scoop all the mids out. You'd hear a lot of recordings where they probably would, and especially kind of down here as well, you might find a lot of 300 being taken out of toms. But to me, that's again where kind of the life of the drum is. Again, I would have boosted around here, and I'll do that again now to find like the muddiest area and then cut that a little bit. So to me about there, if I cut that a bit. Still sounds very much like the same kind of tom sound to me. And this is kind of also showing to me that if the tom sound you record isn't good, you're really going to be fighting it. It has to be good at source, and it takes a lot of attention to detail to especially maintain the tom tuning throughout the recording process. I am high passing it. I don't know why I'm high passing it so low. I guess probably around 40 is probably appropriate, just so that the big tom doesn't ring out with too much low end. But that's pretty much all I would do to it as far as the EQ goes. I do apply just a little bit of fast attack compression, but actually I think I kind of made a mistake here. I was going to actually use a limiter instead to do this, because that tends to have a bit of a cleaner sound. Here I'm going to use the Waves L1 limiter, which is just a very basic, good, all-purpose limiter. And the thing with toms is they are melodic, and I find that unlike the snare and kick, I'm not necessarily trying to exaggerate the attack of them. They actually have a ton of attack, and If I exaggerate that, then all you hear is the attack in the mix. So I kind of try to do the opposite. I want something that's going to be really fast, like some kind of compression or limiting that's super fast, to take the peak off and exaggerate more of the sustain. So this is kind of reducing the dynamic range of the drum. So this is again on the bus. And I'll just hit play and then kind of bring this down until I feel like they're sounding more rounded. So that's working pretty well for me around there. What I have on every channel is kind of an even more drastic version of what I have going on with the snare, which is just going to take out all the top end in between the hits. And that's kind of the last piece of the puzzle. Maybe I should have put that on a bit earlier though, because that does also kind of mean that you do less EQing. The sustain of the drum naturally has less of those really ugly frequencies in it. So this is the tom sound now without parallel compression or reverb, but with the top end being taken out after the hit and with our just rough EQ and limiting. It's really not that drastic difference from where we started. If we listen to that in context. Now, even though we've taken off some of the transient using this limiter, to me, this is where the parallel compression is going to come in to really fill in the sustain of the drum. So let's listen now with parallel compression. I might even limit it a little bit harder. I'm hearing still quite a lot of the attack of the drum coming through. And then finally, reverb is going to help with the tail end of the drums and just kind of get more of an airy sound to them when they're struck. So this would be the final tom sound. That's pretty much all I need to do to the toms for this, for me. I'll find some other areas with some tom hits so you can hear them in a different context. Cool, so you've heard a whole load of toms being hit in there.
Vinny has a question. Nolly, do you hand separate all the individual tom hits and then apply manual fades, or do you use gate with a longer release?
No, I do that by hand.
Do it all manually?
I did that last night.
Okay.
Then you're also using a gate as well.
There's no gating on, well, yeah.
Well,
There's
the multi-band gate.
Yeah, that's more to reduce the top end, but it's not going to affect like the sustain of the tom.
Awesome. E. Wilson wants to know, Nolly, do you ever have phase issues with parallel compression?
No, I've never had that be an issue. Logic has very good latency compensation. I know that Pro Tools can act strangely sometimes with parallel processing if you don't have latency compensation on, but there's no reason why, unless there's something wrong with the latency that the plugin is reporting to the DAW, like it should line up just fine.
Awesome.
That would actually be one reason why I like to do it in the box rather than using outboard gear, because inevitably the send out through the gear and back is going to introduce a delay that could give you some kind of negative phase interaction.
Okay. Do you send pre or post fader when sending to parallel compression?
I send post fader. I want to keep that balance between the level that I want of the instrument and the amount of parallel compression. Like I don't want to pull the toms back, or make the toms louder and then have way more sustain coming through on them, or pull them back and the other way around. I want to keep that when I turn up the tom track. I want the amount of sustain to stay.